Brothers and sisters, welcome back to the Torah Institute. My name is Mark Davidson, and this is my lovely wife Amy. And tonight we would like to discuss with you something that we've gone through and seen Yahusha doing in our life over the last year or so. It's about trust. That's why this video is called The Trust Concept. And we've gone through a quite horrendous and just amazing journey over the last year or so, and we'd like to share it with you and tell you what Yahusha has done in our life to encourage you, to just let you know, maybe if you're a new Natsarim, just how Yahusha works, because it's all based on our belief. It's not about your head knowledge, although we do need that. It's about our behaviour and our walk, and just how much we believe Yahusha is in our life. So, what have you seen Yahusha do in your life over the last year, darling, since we were in Sydney, living in Bligh Park with the other salon? What have you seen happen?
Well,
because you've been the one who's tended to worry about the finer details of what's going on, and how's this going to happen, and are we going to be in this situation forever, and where's the money going to come from, and what's going to happen? So what have you seen Yahusha do?
well, when we sold the salon, which I think we talked about earlier in another video, we didn't know when it would sell, and we had a time that we had to either move out of our house or renew the lease for another 6 months, and we were worried and panicking and putting the price down and thinking we'd end up having to renew the lease. And then 3 weeks before we had to move out, someone came along and said, I'll buy the salon, I'll take it in 3 weeks. So that was our first thing of saying,
spot on timing.
Why were we worrying that whole time? Why were we trying to hurry it up? And that was my first experience of realising how Yahusha's so into all the finer details of everything in our lives. And so when we left Sydney, we went through a whole lot of experiences
in a caravan.
In the caravan, and getting stuck down a hill and ending up in Malakuta, and everything that happened along the way, we could see Yahusha's hand in it, and protecting us and guiding us and showing us where to go and what to do and where we should be. And that year in Malakuta gave us an opportunity to pay off some things, a nice holiday for a year, pretty much. And I got to finish a course, gave us an experience of sending the kids to school, so we could be aware of what that was like, and be confident in our decision not to. So we learnt a lot through that experience. I learnt a lot through that experience and realised that Yahusha put us there for that, to learn and to grow and to change. And I felt like I changed a lot there. We were living off a wage, which we hadn't done, since we first got married. We'd been self-employed for most of the time after that. And living off a wage at first was exciting because it was like, we don't have to worry about how much money the business makes each week. We don't have to worry about anything. But after the novelty of that wears off, you realise that you don't get much on a wage each week. So we had to bring our budget, and Malakuta was more expensive to live in because it was such an isolated, tiny little town. So we had to bring our budget right down to ridiculous amounts just to try and
feed the family.
Feed the family, pay the bills, and try and get ahead a little bit. And then the car broke, and that cost us nearly $3,000. And so it showed me what we were capable of when we needed to be.
We didn't spend anything.
Yeah, and when it came down to it, we could achieve that. I mean, obviously with Yahusha, but like showing that in my head previously, oh no, we could never feed the family for that small amount of money each week, or we could never do this, or we could never do that, or we could never. But it showed me that we could. So I learnt a lot in that way, and how tight we could we could be and come down to if we had to.
Mm.
And so then the time came for us to leave Malakuta. We were keen to leave then, and the opportunity for us to come up here arose, but I wasn't finished my course.
Well, that wasn't happening at that point. We had had enough of the cold weather, of the depression of Malakuta, and we were just going to hit the road in our caravan, travel around Australia, cutting hair anywhere we could, caravan site to caravan site, marketplaces, anywhere, just cutting hair. And Amy was now a qualified beauty therapist, so almost.
Well, I wasn't, and that was the thing. When we went to leave Malakuta, I still had a few months left of my course, and I spoke to my trainer and managed to cram in, like, I think I had 4 months worth of work experience hours and stuff to do. Managed to cram that into 3 weeks, or 2 weeks in Malakuta and then 3 weeks in Sydney, and get my assessment done so that we could head out. And that stage, that's what we were going to do. We were going to be coming up here to Atherton at some stage, but that wasn't...
Just a visit.
Well, no, we were going to come up here for you to rent a chair and stuff.
Yeah.
But that was still probably not going to be for about 6 months. We were going to go travelling first.
Mm.
And then while we were in Sydney, the whole plan changed, and we were coming... The timing couldn't have been better. That I was finishing, and we were coming up here, and it was all the doors opened for us to come back here, which is what I always wanted. Ever since we went down to Sydney, I've always wanted to be back up here. So that was very exciting.
We're in a house right now that Chris and Victoria bought. When they first came up here, they bought a house, which they are now renting down the road. Lovely house. Then they saw the opportunity for this house, because it came down a lot, and it was just such a great deal, and it's probably the best house I've ever seen, definitely the best house I've ever lived in. It's like a palace to us from where we came from, and they were living in this house, and they starting to put roots down, and they were quite comfortable. You know, they're 65. They were quite happy to say, this is it now for us. You know, we've got our salon down the road, we've got this lovely house, we can spend our twilight years here and settle down.
And a very successful salon.
Yeah, very successful salon on Main Street. And they'd spent 8 years building it up, pumping it up. And then Yahusha spoke to Chris and said, I don't know how he said it, but he basically put the idea into Chris that they could make more money with haircuts and services that they provide in Cairns, which is the nearest big city, about an hour away from here. And they could charge a lot more money for their haircuts if they set up another salon, lovely, stunning salon, which is still being set up right now. And look at Mark and Amy, where they're at. You could bring them up here, and they could run your salon, rent your salon, lease the salon, and lease your house, which will just lift them out of the place they're in. I mean, our car's nearly on the fritz again from towing the caravan. There's no way it was going to make it around Australia. That was a bit of a joke. So Yahusha's rescued us from that. But we had to say yes. You know, we had to say, yeah, we'll do that, because the money we pay on the house and the salon and everything, that helps feed into what they're doing, and they're helping us. They've left practically all their furniture here, which is just amazing furniture to us. It's like I said, it's like a palace. So we're working as a family, working as a team in Yahusha. They're helping us, we're helping them, and it's just been so amazing for us. And so we left Sydney. Did I leave anything out? No? So we left Sydney and we got up here in about 2 days, a day and a half. It took us to drive, 2,500 kilometres. So we just got here like zombies, because we just desperately wanted to get out of Sydney, because Sydney's just like Sodom and Gomorrah these days. It's just a filth pot. And so we came up here, and the view off the balcony, just over the rolling hills, just the clean air. There's no traffic lights in this town. There's about probably close to 15,000 people in town now, and the business is just pumping. So I've taken that over, and Yahusha's just lifted us out of this hideous depression we were in, and put us in this place, and we're just sort of gobsmacked. not knowing what to think. We're kind of looking for the next step now. What do you want us to do now, Yahusha? But we've seen what Chris and Victoria have gone through, because, like I said, at their age, they had to uproot and just move on. And so that's pretty traumatic when you sort of look at what you've got to do.
So for us to leave Sydney, to come back up here, to take over the business, to move into the house, which I refused to do initially because it is a stunning house and I've got 5 children. So I was very nervous about it. To do all that, we really had to trust that this was Yahusha. And that was, like, as exciting as it was, we had our moments where we were like, oh, gee, I hope we're doing the right thing. What, you know, like the what ifs. What if it's not? What if we should do this? What if we should do that? But, you know, we trusted that it was Yahusha, and yeah, it definitely was. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because once we got up here and realised what we were getting, where we were living, the opportunity, I was like the house. When we talked about coming back to Atherton, I said we'll need to build our own house for it to be exactly what we need. You know, with the schoolroom big enough, a beauty room for me to work at nights, all that sort of thing. I said we'll have to build our own house because houses just aren't like that. And we came here to this house, and I kid you not, it could not have been more perfect. They've got an office that has a separate entrance and has got benches and bookshelves and everything built into the office for my beauty room. It's perfect. Like, better than what we could have built. Yeah. And then we've got the big double garage that's in between the office and the laundry and the house. So it's sort of part of the house that we've turned into the schoolroom because it's got 2 double garages. So we've got another garage that we can use.
Another double garage.
Yeah. So we're using one of them for the schoolroom. Like, it's just ridiculous. It's got this amazing balcony where I just can't get over it and go sit out in the balcony all the time looking out at the mountains and the hills. And
it's like a room.
It's just incredible. It's got its own little kitchen out. Like, it's amazing. And so...
It's where we filmed the Black Magic video, because we put all the kids in here in front of the cartoons to shut them up, and then we went out on the balcony with Jason and Ellie and filmed the Black Magic thing.
So when we saw the house and Mark started working in the salon, I mean, we were terrified at first.
Totally. That
we had this responsibility that we were going to be taking over, coming from what we'd come from in Malakuta, which was 0 responsibility. We were living in the most rundown, disgusting house. You couldn't do anything to wreck it. It was horrible. And Mark was working for someone else, so there was no responsibility whatsoever. And then we came up here to this. So we had to trust that this was Yahusha's plan and that we can succeed. I mean, we can't just sit here and say, oh, I believe we'll succeed without putting it into action. But we had to trust him to help us and to bring the clients to the salon and to give us the strength to manage the home like this and to get it into order and routine. And that's the biggest thing we've learnt since coming up here is about making sure everything's in order and routine. And that's how Yahusha wants everything. That's how you can function properly. You can think clearly. You can be ready to move when he says move. But otherwise, if you're not in order and routine, you've just got chaos. And if someone rings up and says, let's do this or let's do that, you can't be there. You can't move instantly because you're surrounded by chaos. And that's pretty easy to be surrounded by with 5 children. Yeah. But getting the order and the routines and the disciplines and the systems and the charts and things happening has made a huge difference. But it's been through that. We spent 3 weeks here with Chris and Victoria before they moved down to Cairns, and it might have been 4. Yeah. And it was like a wonderful time for just learning and just changing and listening and fellowship and
seeing what they'd been through. Yeah. And seeing what we were capable of. Definitely.
So it's
the change in you since we got up here has been phenomenal. So what do you put that down to? Like when you first got up here, you were paranoid and really angry. If Chris or Victoria said anything to the children, you were like, your blood would boil. Like, how dare they talk to my children? Like, and they were just doing practical things. What's happened? Because over the last 6 weeks or so, you just totally reversed.
There was one day when something happened, I don't remember what it was, and I was so angry about it. And I was just like, oh, that's it. I'm getting out of here, furious, hanging the clothes on the line. I was so angry. And then I was praying. I was just praying, Father, you need to show me if this is you or I'm getting out of here, if you're even real, because this is ridiculous.
Why? Because you were being shown about yourself?
Yeah, I can't actually remember the specific point of what it was. But whatever it was that had happened, I was furious. And I'm hanging the washing on the line, and then it just came to me that this is him. This is Yahuwah. He's the one in control of all this. He's the one teaching and guiding. And so if I reject it, I'm rejecting him. So I had the choice then to either accept it and change, or keep fighting it and fail. Fail at everything. Fail at life. And so it was that point in time where I just went, I've got to accept it and change.
Sick of failing.
Because I don't want to fail anymore.
10 years of failing.
I want to succeed. I want to be happy. I want to have a wonderful life. And since I gave in and decided to accept everything and listen to everything they said to me and take it as that's from Yahusha, that's from Yahuwah, he's teaching me something here, then my whole outlook just changed. How I felt changed. My attitude changed. And I started to enjoy it. I started to enjoy it. Like, you want to tell me something that's going on wrong? Tell me. I want to hear it. I was excited to hear it then. Like, I wanted to hear what was what I needed to change, because I wanted to change. For the first time in a really long time, I found myself now excited to get into reading the Torah. Like, I've started reading it to the kids every day, and it's like all of a sudden this blind has been taken off my eyes, and I'm reading it. It all makes sense, and it doesn't sound like old-fashioned and boring and weird. It sounds like I'm reading a storybook. And it's fascinating, and we're laughing. The kids and I are laughing at some of the stories in the Besorah, and we're having a good old laugh about, oh wow, look at that, look how that happened. Imagine that happening. Oh my goodness, and then putting it into our life. Well, that's kind of like what just happened to us. Look what happened, and and I've really enjoyed it and been so excited to get into it, and I haven't felt like that in forever. So it was that moment that I decided to stop fighting it and to accept everything, and to realize I needed to change and change. That was the moment that, my eyes are opened. So I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah. So you realise that Yahusha, his training is not what we thought it was. It's not just, oh, I believe in the Torah. Oh, I'm a Natsarim. I've been immersed. I'm in that club. It's not like that. Yahusha comes right into your heart and starts throwing things around and wanting you a certain way. And if you don't get into line, you feel pain, you feel pressure. Things stop working in your life. So if you're in a place right now where things are not working, you need to have a hard look at yourself. And if you're by yourself, have a look at yourself. If you've got a wife or a husband, you come together and say, what's going on in our relationship, in the way we communicate, in our life? What are we doing that's wrong here? Because our life ain't working. Chris and Victoria said to us, the main thing we can teach you guys is that if you see the salon going down, like financially, if you have a low week, I mean business is generally like this, normally, but if you have a really low week, what's Yahusha saying to you? If you start bickering and hating each other and, being horrible to each other, you'll notice the business have a slow week. This is their personal experience, and I'm happy to take heed to it. And so they taught us that because they don't want us to fail either. And we've never taken all those things seriously, checking your thoughts and, communicating lovely to one another. And so, yeah, we're on to each other totally now. She doesn't want me to go down into a depression. I don't want her to get into chaos. We've both been in total chaos. Chris said to me, the way you feel Yahusha's love in you and the way you feel his presence is if you have everything in order. You have everything nice and clean and tidy. The things that he's blessed you with, look after them, keep them clean and tidy. You've got order, routines, like Amy said. You've got charts, and if you've got lots of kids, charts, and everybody knows what they've got to do. And then you feel peace. There's no chaos, because when there's chaos, there's drama, and you don't feel him in there. So I feel like he's lifted us out of this hole that we were in, and we're trying to work out all year. We've been trying to work out what does he want us to be. Lew wrote an article on his website that says, "Are we all supposed to be living in poverty? Why is it so hard? Are we supposed to be poor? You look around. Most of the Natsarim are poor. Why is everybody poor? Look at the bloody Christians. They're all rich and taking money off each other and raking in all this dough. Are the Natsarim supposed to be poor?" And I don't think so. I think Yahusha wants us to have a wonderful life, an amazing life, but it has to be his way. And we've been through a whole year of absolute poverty, and most of our marriage has been, like this. Getting amazing furniture and selling it because we've been stupid and wanted to do something else. Complaining. Done nothing but complain. No matter what we had in our life, I just complained. Wanted something else. If I had an amazing salon, I complained that I had to look after it. Would complain about this. Yahushua would give us things and I'd complain. So when you complain, you see what happened to the Israelites in the desert when they complained. He absolutely hates complaining. And that's the biggest lesson I've had to learn. Yahusha hates complaining. So I don't believe he wants everybody in poverty. Having said that, you're on your own personal journey with him, and you need to look at your life and your family's life and how you've done it. It's not him doing this to you. You've put yourself in the situation you're in, just like we've put ourselves in the situation we've been in, and it's only just nothing we've done. Chris said to the kids, none of this would be possible if your daddy wasn't such an amazing hairdresser. And that, I nearly wanted to cry when I heard that, because I don't think I'm an amazing hairdresser at all. But obviously, being family, we're like family to them. They can trust me with their salon. They know I'm not going to, steal money out of the till and, do all those sort of things. They trust me. They trust us with their house. They've laid down, they've helped us train the kids the last month or so and get us back, where we feel like the parents again. Because we were just so depressed. Because you were at your course all the time, and I was at work, and they were at school, and the odd time we'd see them at night and in the morning, it was chaos, absolute chaos. And so we were just so depressed. And so, I'd get on camera with Lew and, ask questions and try and be happy and there, but in my life, so depressed. And that was partly what Chris heard when at one point when he said, "Oh, do you want to come up and, you might have to get this or get that?" And he said, "Have you got this? Have you got that?" I said, "Mate, we don't have anything. We got nothing." And that's partly what spurred on him sort of into the plan that we're in now. And it's been totally miraculous to us. The last couple of weeks in the salon, have been big. Last week was a huge week in the salon, and we weren't even that busy, and I handled it fine. Because I'm a hairdresser, I'm trained to do that. It's the thoughts that you get. Oh, you that won't succeed. You'll fail again. The shop will go down. Look, Chris and Victoria are gone. You have one slow day, and you start thinking, oh, look, Chris and Victoria aren't here. Look, the clients aren't coming. And then the next day you're busy. So it's the thinking. Yahusha wants to put you in a place where you are reliant totally on him. And we're not Christians. We're not waiting for some big pot of gold to fall out of the sky because we prayed for it. He doesn't do that. you might get the odd donation here or there, if here and there. But I'm just saying, as a whole, you don't work, you don't eat. You gotta make it happen. And Yahusha says He will bless the work of your hands. So, if you're in a place where things aren't working, you have to get together with your wife or your husband or a counsellor, somebody you trust in Yahusha, and say, I need to chat, I need to work this out. Why aren't things working in my life? Get a job. You can always find a job doing something, and Yahusha will bless it. So I just want to encourage you with this trust concept. It's all about trusting Yahusha, because He wants to work you and mould you and make you into a loving person. I'm not a loving person. I'm not a kind person. I'm a horrible person. I don't like myself at all. But I'm on a path with Yahusha, and He's letting me know with His whip. And I feel it. When something goes down and I behave the wrong way, it's not about knowing. I've been fed with the scriptures since I was a toddler. I know all about the scriptures. I know all the stories, all the lovely things that went on in there, and I know it. There's not too many things you could say to me that would baffle me. But do I have loving behaviour? No, I haven't. And Yahusha's showing me in this walk, it's not on. You've got to be loving. You've got to be looking after your children properly, nurturing them, loving them, being kind. That was a big lesson we had a couple of weeks ago, being kind, loving kindness to one another, being soft and gentle to one another, not harsh.
We had a test this week in trusting Him. So just when I think I'm starting to get there and overcome and do everything, we had this test, and we had organised our car. The batteries died last week. We had to buy new batteries. That cost $500 then, and the clutch was going because of the caravan, from towing the caravan. So the clutch was going to have to get replaced. Because
I pushed it. Yeah, I pushed it. I was revving the hell out of it, trying to get it into the backyard. It was in the backyard already, but I wanted it straight. I didn't want it like this. I wanted it straight. And our car, at the best of times, can't tow the caravan very well, let alone when the grass is wet, in reverse, on a slight slope. So I'm revving it because I wanted my way, you see. I wanted it straight because I didn't think anyone was ever going to buy it, because that's my unbelief. So at least I wanted it in the backyard, in a place, out of sight, where I didn't have to look at it all the time. So I was revving it, and she's saying, it's enough, there's smoke coming out of the bonnet. No, I want it where I want it. Sorry, go on.
And it sold a few days later and drove out of our backyard after wrecking the car. So we decided then we don't need the 12-seater anymore. Let's downgrade to an 8-seater vehicle. Let's trade this in and get another car. So I got on the internet and on the phone trying to find cars, because you've got to go into Cairns to get a car. So it's an hour and a half away down the range. So started trying to work it out, finding out that our car's not worth much for a trade-in at the best of times, let alone without a clutch. So we then worked it all out, and I said, oh, look, let's just sell the car. Let's fix the clutch and sell it privately. We'll get more for it, and then we can get another car. But I advertised it on Facebook groups and things for sale, and a man rang up that night and said that he was interested and he was going to come up from Cairns and have a look at it. And we said, okay, well, we haven't fixed the clutch yet because we haven't gotten around to that yet. We only just advertised it. So we said, we'll take, $3,000 less if you want to do the clutch yourself. So he came up the next day and he had a look at it and he was like, yeah, great, excellent. So he ended up making an offer that was exactly what we needed to buy the other car we were looking at. And so I rang up the other guy and I said, great, we're going to do it. It was all organised. So that on day before Sabbath, I was going down to Cairns with our car with a dodgy clutch that I didn't think would make it back up the hill because the clutch really needs to be fixed. And took the car down to Cairns, and I was supposed to be meeting the guy who was buying our car at the car yard. He was going to pay me for our car, and then I was going to go into the car yard and pay him for my new car and walk out with my new car. So I go down to Cairns and I ran some errands first, and then we drive to the car yard and I get a text message 15 minutes before we're supposed to meet this guy saying, the guy who was buying my boat hasn't turned up. If he doesn't show up, I don't have the money to buy your car. And I just went, oh, okay, Father, I trust you. You're just testing me here. It'll all happen. It'll be fine. It'll be okay. I trust you. Of course, I was a bit freaked out, thinking, okay. And so I sent him a message saying, thanks for letting me know. I don't know if I can get back up the range in our car, so please keep me, in the loop of what's happening. And then I waited for a little bit at the car yard, didn't hear anything, thought I'll go and do some other things we've got to do. So we, jolted our way around Cairns in the car to do some jobs, and had to drop off some things to Chris and Victoria, so I went and saw them. And I tried ringing them, couldn't get in contact with them, so I was just giving up on everything. I thought, can't get a car, can't get in contact with Chris and Victoria, so I thought I'd drive past their house, drop off their mail and their things at the front of the house, and then we'll go home. And just as I put the mail in the letterbox and walk away from their place, I get a phone call from Victoria. And I said, she goes, where are you? I said, I'm at your house, I've just dropped your mail off. She goes, well, we're inside, I'll open the gate up for you, come in. So we went in and we were chatting with them and waiting, and finally got a message after I'd, sent another message to this guy saying, I'm going to have to give it a miss. The guy can't come up with the cash for my boat now, so I can't buy your car. And it was that point in time that I was panicking, because I thought, how am I going to get back up the range? Because it's a mountain range. Without the clutch, I didn't think I'd be able to do it. The clutch is still there, but it's not working very well. It's slipping out of the gears very easily when you put your foot down. So I thought putting my foot down to get up the hills, it's not going to work very well. And I was terrified because I was alone with the 5 kids. Mark was still at work. But, Chris and Victoria knew what we had to do, so I'm sure they were praying. And it worked because, and I prayed the whole time, Father, why did you do this? Why has this happened? I don't know what's going on. It's fine if it falls through, but why did it have to fall through when I was already in Cairns and I've got to try and drive back? And so we drove back without a hitch. There was not a single problem. Didn't slip once. We got up easily. No problems at all. Disappointed Mark a little bit when we pulled up front of the salon with the same car still.
I'm sitting at the front desk, I look out the window and go, what? What's this thing still here for?
So we don't, and Josiah comes out today and says, I think I know why Yahusha wanted us to go down to Cairns and then not sell the car. And I said, oh, okay, why? And he goes, because he wanted to show us that it would still get up the range and he would still look after us and it would be okay. And the car would still work. So I was very excited because I said to him, you've been listening to Yahusha. Look at you. So I was very proud of him. And I thought, yeah, there's a reason. And we don't know necessarily right now why it all fell through or why it happened. And it's a bit of a nuisance, but at the end of the day, maybe there's a reason we need a 12-seater car, because the times we've thought of getting rid of it, there's always been one of us that stops it, and then usually me. I love my car. But this time, with all the money we have to put into it to fix it, it was, no, it's got to go. But, I trust him. And I had to go through that. I don't know what the plan is, Father. I don't know why it's happened. Maybe the car we were going to buy was a dud. It was just going to cost us more money than this one. Maybe we're going to have triplets soon, and we need the more space in the car.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know why he's done it, but we have to trust, and we have to trust at the end of the day that he will provide us with the money to repair it all and get it all done, that he will look after us, that he'll keep us protected and safe, and that he has a reason for why he's done it. But that was a big test, particularly for me in the middle of it all with the kids, and I was stressed out, had quite a tight jaw by the time I got home because I was anxious driving, knowing that the clutch wasn't very good. And then the guy who was going to buy it had put this fear into me that the brakes were going to fail as well, because he had a look and said that the brakes needed fixing.
They don't.
So we find out from the mechanic this week, I guess. But so then I've got that as well. But it was all about trusting, and at the end of the day, if it was just a test to see if we would trust him, I very nervously did. I was very nervous, but at the end of it all, I said, by the time I got back to Atherton, I had that hour and a half of processing, that time driving home and crying out to him. I was crying out to him, why is this happening, Father? Show me why this is happening. But by the time I got home, I just had this peace that was over me that he has a reason. He's in control of everything. He's always looking after us. He has a reason. And I don't need to know what that reason is if I just trust him. So then I had to try and impart that peace into Mark after he hadn't had that time to process.
I just looked at it and what?
That it's okay, we just got to trust.
Yeah.
But it is. It's hard at times, but then I think he's never let us down. So...
Well, what came to me, it took me about an hour or so to...
Yeah, it does take about that long.
Get over it. But what came to me that helped was that something a few weeks before, Chris had said, everything in life is a test. Everything happens is a test. I think it was the first time the battery had died.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, it's all right. Just make the phone calls you got to make. Pay the money you got to pay. Everything's a test to see how you're going to behave in this circumstance. Because Yahusha wants our allegiance. He wants our obedience. He wants our service and worship and all that. And if we say, yeah, we'll do it, then we got to do it. So he needs, if everything's just smooth sailing all the time, there's no opportunity for us to show whether we're going to choose him or just fly off the, how's it go? Fly off the rail, fly off the handle, just off our face at stuff and yell and scream and this isn't what I wanted and so everything is a test in your life. Everything is a test. Yahusha's watching you. You've got protective malachim around you, angels around you protecting you. I believe that. That doesn't mean we should go out and do stupid things. It doesn't mean you should let your kids play on the road. It doesn't mean you should break all the road rules. But at the end of the day, I look and see that there's so many car accidents we might have had. There's so many things that could have happened to our children. 5 kids. None of them have been to the doctor, ever. Now I'm happy to keep it that way. None of them are vaccinated. Don't want any of that crap. It's all rubbish. Because Yahusha has a hedge. If we're in Torah and doing our best, none of us are perfect, but if we're in Torah trying to behave the best we can, then we're protected. He said you can go and pick up snakes, and they went, all that. Now don't go getting your kids to go and pick up snakes. That's just stupid. But my point is just that he will protect us if we're obedient, if we're doing what we're meant to be doing. So...
And so we took that opportunity on the drive home as well for me to talk to the children about our protective malachim looking after us, keeping us safe, because they were worried as well, knowing that the car wasn't great. So they got to have a lesson there as well. We all did. A lesson in trust and belief.
Yeah.
Didn't respond correctly initially. I was quite cranky. Yeah. But then I realised that it was just that moment where I went, he's never let me down. He's always in control of everything. So he has a reason. And I've just got to trust him. So then I had this peace. When I let myself just trust him and give in to my desire to not have to bother with fixing this car, to just get a new car, not have to worry about all the mucking around of this car. I love the bus, but just didn't want to get it fixed again. So I thought, just happy to give it to someone else to look after, and I'll have a new car. And I had to give up that desire because Yahusha has something else in mind. He has another plan. He looks after us. He blesses us. So it's not. I have to believe that he's protecting us from something, or he has a better plan in mind.
Yeah.
I don't know what it will be, but I had to give up my desires and what I wanted and what I was thinking, what I was planning, all my plans, and trust in him and rely on him and see what comes of it. So that was just a little test for us this week to see if we would trust.
Yeah. The overcoming is a big thing. Like you said, you had to overcome what you wanted to think, how you wanted to behave.
Yeah.
The overcoming is a big thing. I mean, if you want to do studies and you love studying, do studies on overcoming. Those that overcome get this, those that overcome get that. They get robes, they get white stones, they get all sorts of things. It's all about overcoming. There's a constant battle between the flesh and the spirit that's going on. The food we want to eat, the time we want to watch, the time we want to spend watching the telly, all the things in life just to be entertained and pleasured. And at the same time, He's put gifts inside of us that He wants to grow as well. So I found that when I sort of turn that off and just want to eat junk food, watch the telly, just bum around, you don't feel the same way as when you are listening to Him and working on something that He wants you to work on. Like, was it yesterday? Yeah, I don't know. It came out of the blue. But you were turned onto it, like when I said it about or did you say it about the new show? Well, whichever one of us said it, she got out a pad and started writing down. We're doing a new program. We're working on one, and we're going to have Lew and Phyllis involved too. It's it's like Torah Talk, but it's for families. Because I've been thinking, Lew and I will sit there, we could sit there and chat for hours and our kids just sort of wander in and out. They're not interested, But wouldn't it be good if we could do a program for families to watch? Something that aims at children, a little bit older, and the adults can get something out of it as well. So we're still working on it. There's going to be one every few weeks. Lew will be the primary teacher, but there'll be, look at the kids' programs like, what are those kids called? With the High Five and the Wiggles and all those, how they draw all the kids in with their bright colours and all that. We're going to be experimenting with things like that. We've got all the kids, we've got all the instruments and everything we need, so we're still in the think tank, still processing, planning process. We've written the first song. We're going to start at the beginning, at creation. There's going to be worksheets for the kids you can download before you watch it, so it can be, because a lot of the Natsarim do homeschool their kids, so you can...
interactive.
Yeah. And then there'll be some, on each story through the scripture, I was thinking of calling it heroes and villains, something like that.
Heroes and villains of the Torah.
Of the Torah, yeah. I don't know yet. But so each story that we do, we'll get some kids. We might get on the Skype and get some other Natsarim families to get their kids to read scriptures as well, so that it's not just our family, and it's just a way to connect as well and produce something that, like Lew has produced this Besorah for generations to come, as long as Yahusha tarries, and so we want to start producing work too, and because every time you produce something, it gets simplified. It gets simplified. The message gets Yahusha. Says it in a different way. And somebody goes, oh, yeah, that makes sense to me. I've heard it 1,000 times, but that just made sense to me, that one. So we want to keep moving on. Because even though Yahusha's looking after us and blessing us and, doing everything, He doesn't want us to forget Him. He doesn't want us to go, oh, yeah, look at all this lovely stuff around you. Just sit back and, chill out and do nothing, He wants us to be looking for the next step. What's the next step? Where does He want us to go now? So He wants us to be searching, reading. If there's Torah teachers that you admire, there's really only one or two that I admire, that I would take anything they say seriously. Read their stuff and get inspiration. Listen to Yahusha while you're reading, and He'll give you the next step. Because if you're not physically going on to the next step, then He's just waiting for you. We weren't doing hardly anything in Malakuta except being depressed. I mean, we got a couple of credit cards paid off, but nothing really, But it was all part of a plan. But we actually had to say, yes, we'll trust Yahusha. We believe Yahusha's wanting to bring us back into Atherton and, take over this salon, most beautiful salon I've ever seen. And, make it happen. And we had to actually physically get off our butts and do it and go and be proactive and make this happen, because we believed what we heard was Yahusha. And what Yahusha's presenting is true. and he will follow it through. If we'd heard it and go, oh, yeah, I don't know, then somebody else might have taken over the salon. Somebody else might have got our blessing. If Yahusha gives you a thought to say something to somebody or to do something, or maybe you should, I don't know, sell your car, or maybe you should sell your house, or maybe you should, I don't know, whatever situation you're in, if Yahusha gives you an idea, it might just be an idea. Where do thoughts come from? You know, they're not yours. Your head's just like a, you know.
You have to look at whether it's a negative or a positive.
Yeah.
If it's negative, you know who it's coming from. If it's positive, who's it coming from? Match it up with Torah. Is this what he wants? Test it.
Yeah.
Try things. If the door's open, that's the thing we've really learnt. If you hear an idea or you think, okay, is that from Yahusha? We start making moves towards that plan. Researching and start looking, getting into it and seeing. And if the door's all open, then we keep walking through the next door. So
counting the cost. Can we afford that? Will this pay for that? Not just in a dreamland. Oh yeah, it's all credit and it's all, you know. You got to count the cost. How much do I make per week? How much, you know, if I go and do this, can we cover the cost of everything? Counting the cost. That's what I mean by researching.
And so as the doors open, you go on to the next door, and if it opens, you keep going. But as soon as there's a door and a blockage, we sort of go, okay, it wasn't him. We stop. It's not working anymore. It's not happening. It's not flowing. But as long as an idea or a plan that you've heard is flowing and going and doors opening and things just happening, then you know it's from him. He's preparing a path for you. If you follow and flow with it, you get the blessing at the end of the path. But if you freak out and stop and don't want to go there and get stubborn and stuck in your ways and, you know, settle down and, I don't want to move, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that, then you miss out on the blessing at the end of it.
I don't like it. I. So he said something, and then you're there going, I. Who's the I? Anything that goes against what he said, that I is not you. That's your flesh, that's spirits, that's Satan going against, because he hates what Yahusha's doing. So you know by that. And a lot of Natsarim think that that's materialism, going after materialism. No, it's okay to live in poverty because we're spiritual. We're in the truth. Show me that in Torah. I'm not saying a lot of us, you know, because we go through our walks, we go through the ups and downs, we go through having no money at all, having to work out how to feed our families, and we go through times where we've got loads of money. We go through those journeys. I'm not talking about that. But don't try and overcompensate being spiritual and knowing a lot of the Torah, you know, if you've got nothing, because it's depressing. You can't pretend to be spiritual, because I can tell you, having nothing and no money and trying to feed your family when you're broke is depressing. And it's really hard to love other people and overcome and be in the joy and everything like that when you're just being squeezed financially. I don't believe that we're meant to be like that. I believe we put ourselves through those situations, and Yahusha uses those situations to teach us things. But I believe there's an end to it, and the end is determined by us. And so we need to overcome, and we need to listen to what Yahusha's saying to us, because he has the way out. He has the way out of every situation. There's always a way out for Yahusha's people, if they're listening and reading and doing what they're supposed to do. You can't just sit there, like I said, and wait for a pot of gold to fall in your lap. You have to make things happen. If you are selling or buying a house, you got to know the market. You've got to know what things look good. If you're trying to sell a house and it looks ridiculous, then give it another coat of paint. Clean out all the crap, put some nice things around the place so people walk in and go, oh, lovely. You know, that's just one example. You know, cars, or if you've got to sell things or buy things, or, you know what you're doing. Look at magazines and see, oh, that's what looks good. That's what's in these days. That's what's modern. That's what's fashionable. You know, don't just sit back, because I'm a Natsarim, I'm spiritual. I don't need to mix with the world. I'm not part of the world. So I can just look like a freak over here with who knows what you're wearing and what you look like. And, you know, because who's going to take you seriously? What are your kids going to think about you when they grow up? And you've still got nothing. What testimony is that? Look at the men in Scripture. They went through journeys. They had lots and they had nothing. Lots and nothing. They went through their journeys. But Yahusha was in it. And he's teaching us all the time. And it's all about trust. So that's why we call this the trust concept.
So that's been our experience and what we've been going through. And it may help someone who's going through it right now, because when you're going through it, you can't see the way out sometimes, and you get caught up in what you're in, and what you're going through, and the experience and everything. So if that can help someone to see that there is an end, there is a way out, you just got to trust him, and see that there's always going to be experiences throughout your whole life where you're going to have to trust Yahusha. You're going to have to go through things that don't seem comfortable. They're going to put you out of your comfort zone, and you're just going to have to trust him. But at the end of the day, when you do that, he always comes through and always looks after us, and that's been our experience. And I know from now on I'm going to trust him because I can see he's always looking after us and always got our best interests at heart. And if he's teaching us a lesson or giving us a test or whatever's coming of it, it's always going to end up positive if we trust in him, because everything that comes from him is positive.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And the feeling that you're feeling, if it's negative and it's down and depressed, that's you don't have to feel like that. That is a choice. And that is often Yahusha letting you know that he's not pleased with what you're doing. He's not pleased with the way you're thinking. If you're thinking negative about every situation, oh yeah, I knew that would happen. Yeah. Woe is me. Yeah. What's going to go wrong now? You know, something will go wrong. Oh, it can't get any worse than this. It can. It can. Oh no, it can. Trust me, it can. So it's the way we think. And we have to overcome that, because it's not us. The minute you wake up in the morning, there's a flood of thoughts in your head to try and make you think and feel a certain way. And you have to choose which ones you're going to believe. As a man thinks in his heart, so he shall be. So he will speak and so he will behave. And it's all about behaviour. So if you're not behaving the right way, you are constantly going to feel his smacking, his flogging. Hebrews 12. Read Hebrews 12. That's one of our favourite scriptures, because it shows us that he's right there in our lives, letting us know, I don't like that, stop doing that. But no. You mean I can't say that ever? No, you can't. So I can't crack a joke? No, you can't. Not in that. No, you can't. No, you can't. You know, he's right in there. You're not allowed to be like you think you're allowed to be. That's just my person. No, I don't want that. Don't want that. So he's right in there. If you dig your heels in, well, that's me. I'm doing. Well, he'll just keep whacking you until you give in. You know, and so it's a real experience. It's not just going off to circus every week and doing what you want the rest of the week. This is a real thing. He's there every minute of the day. He's letting you know whether he's pleased with you or he's not. And we've all felt as Natsarim times where he's been really pleased with us. And we're high as kites and we love it. We're in the love, we just feel his love. It's amazing. And then we don't. Why? Is it just because we didn't get enough sunshine? Is it just because we ate too much sugar? These are all the things that cause depression, apparently. They do. I agree they do. But it's also because we're getting flogged. We watched a show yesterday that said if you are depressed, then you are eating too much sugar, you're not getting enough exercise, and you're not getting enough sunlight. And I just looked at Amy and went, that's me. So, you know, but I want to add another thing to that, and that is that and the most important thing is that Yahusha is inside you, letting you know. And letting you know that you're not trusting him for everything in your life. Don't start hating and being just let everybody have what they want to have around you. Because the minute you give over your opinions and your feelings and your judgment and go in there and start adding to the drama and having a judgment, really, you feel it. Yahusha turns his back and goes, oh, he's doing it again. My goodness. You know, you won't learn. Step back so Yahusha can move. Let everybody have their madness. Let them have who they're going to be and what they're going to do. You can't change their mind about it. And don't take anything personally. Step back. That's the test. And if you're not doing it, you feel it. And it's all about trust and love and obedience and behaving the right way. So we hope this little testimony helps somebody going through this. We love you all, and it's been a pleasure serving Yahusha, and we want to keep doing more and more of it. Our luggage arrived last week. We've unpacked and we're settling down, and the internet's almost on the way in. So we're planning to put out more videos and get back into the swing of it. So, praise Yahusha. Thanks, darling.
Thank you.
So be it.
Shalom.